aimed at changing the mindsets of these young people and their indispensable roles towards the mitigation of the impacts of global warming and climate change. The School Environment and Food Aid Development Society and the School Green Committee have their memberships drawn mainly from among school children. The Young Association's aims are, among other things, to foster closer collaboration with schools and other local communities in the fight against climate change, adaptation, and resilience. The principal of Abuko Upper Basic School, Biran Jain, described global warming and climate change as things that contribute to rising temperatures, thereby making life much unbearable.
It's not only the cars, the aeroplanes, but other human activities like cutting the trees, like overgrazing, like other activities that destroy our forests.
This, he believes, results from human activities. Lamin Kante, a representative of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, referred to overpopulation, desertification, bush burning, overgrazing, and poor farming methods, among other things, as largely responsible for climate change. He therefore calls for the strengthening of climate change mitigation strategies while stating his ministry's position in this campaign.
We in education are tasked to educate, inform the young generations so that they can take ownership and stewardship of the environment for prosperity.
Suleiman Gajigo, Secretary General of the School Environment and Food Aid Development Society, dilated on the impacts of climate change on the health, education, and economic activities of mankind.
5 evidence which definitely shows the impact of climate change on our socio-economic development.
Binta Jang, the National Chair Lady of the School Green Committee, and Ibrahima Sedikan both called on their colleagues to take environmental issues seriously. This latest sensitization awareness on climate change for these young people is expected to generate positive results in the drive to find better solutions to the emerging problems associated with climate change. For GRTS News, I am Samuel Bah.
Well, you can follow that story as well as other GRTS news reports and other GRTS programs live on our website at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio Live. We'll be back with more stories after this break. Welcome back. Norway's Muslim community is still in shock after last Friday's incident. The massacre of 76 people by a man who admits to committing the crime to save Europe from Muslim invasion is scaring Muslims in the country. For a nation that prides itself with being open and tolerant, the incident is beginning to raise doubts over the future of the Muslim community in Oslo. We turn to this report for more on that.
Norway's Muslim community discovered with horror that a man admitted to killing 76 people on Friday, saying it was to save Europe from a Muslim invasion. On Monday, the presiding judge in the case recited 32-year-old Anders Behring Breivik's statements given to the court.
The operation was not to kill as many people as possible, but to give a strong signal that as long as the Labour Party keeps its ideological line, deconstructing Norwegian culture and mass importing of Muslims, then they must assume responsibility for this treason.
This Norwegian Muslim woman of Pakistani origin expressed her shock at the attack.
It's horrifying. I can't even describe it in words. It's really horrifying that he actually killed so many young people because he hates us.
Today, there are currently 100,000 Muslims living in Norway, out of a total population of 5 million inhabitants. Norway prides itself on being an open and tolerant society. However, the far right's popularity is on the rise, and the Anti-Immigration Progress Party is now the second largest in parliament. But the Imam of the Islamic Cultural Center of Norway said Friday's attack did not reflect Norwegian society.
I feel that there are some thinking in individual who want to escape the immigrants and especially Muslims. but it is not the thinking of society.
Yesterday, at least 100,000 people gathered in the capital Oslo to show their support for victims killed in the terror attack. Rallies were also held in other cities around the country.
Protesters in Senegal have been demanding the sacking of the Interior Minister, who is also responsible for the conduct of elections. In response, President Abdoulaye Wade appointed a new minister who is now in charge of elections. But to the disappointment of the opposition, Ousmane Ngom maintains the interior portfolio.
On Sunday, President Abdoulaye Wade told his supporters that Interior Minister Ousmane Ngom is no longer in charge of the February 2012 presidential elections. The opposition had been calling for his resignation. They didn't get it. I will keep Ousmane Ngom. But, I will take the elections away from him. On Monday, Sheikh Gueye entered the government and took charge of the upcoming elections. The 63-year-old Gueye had been with the Elections Bureau inside the Interior Ministry since its creation in 1998. The Bureau organized 9 elections and a referendum since then. The best way is to respect the election laws in all their facets and also with great rigor. Secondly, maintain equal distance from both sides and give the participants all the information they need on the procedures and by respecting the rules. Opposition parties are not happy with Gueye as the new elections minister. They say he is just a lackey to the Interior Minister. There could be no worse provocation because this man is neither clean nor has he a reputation for independence. To the contrary, he has always been the man to carry out the dirty deeds. This is yet another squabble in a long list of electoral fights between the president and the opposition, and there are only 7 months to go until the polling stations open.
Ivory Coast has a new head of the Constitutional Council, as the former head of the body resigned on Monday. President Alassane Ouattara wasted no time in appointing a new man for the job. The new head of the Constitutional Council is a veteran politician who has vowed to better the country's political landscape. Details in this report.
On Monday, Paul Yao-Ndré stepped down from his post as the president of Côte d'Ivoire's Constitutional Council. Paul Yao-Ndré was a supporter of former President Laurent Gbagbo. He plunged the country into crisis when he invalidated the Independent Electoral Commission's result of the presidential election in December. On May 5th, however, Ndré recognized Alassane Ouattara as the winner. We have come to consult with the President of the Republic in a difficult post-electoral period. Getting out of the crisis must involve everyone. Ndré's successor, Francis Woudier, is a veteran politician. The 75-year-old was in the opposition against Félix Houphouët-Boigny starting in the 1960s. He founded the Ivorian Party of Workers and ran in several presidential elections. He formed an alliance with Laurent Gbagbo's Ivorian Popular Front Party in 2000, but then in 2010 he endorsed his adversary Alassane Ouattara. I have discovered in this nomination other significant steps that have been taken in the renewal and normalization of the country's institutions, so we can congratulate ourselves. President Alassane Ouattara is making his mark on Ivorian politics. He has already made several nominations, and there have also been several dismissals since he took office. President Ouattara seems to be surrounding himself with those who will consolidate his power.
And before we end the news, a recap of the top stories. On the second leg of his Dialogue with the People tour, President Jammeh has reiterated his call for young people to be involved more actively in nation building. Trust Bank Gambia Limited has delivered to the Vice President a $100,000 donation meant for the National Disaster Management Agency. Senegalese President Abdoulaye Wade has appointed a new elections minister, amidst calls by the country's opposition for the sacking of the interior minister who holds that responsibility.